here for business or pleasure? Either way, I'll hook you up.
Okay, so now we got the shop where we can buy weapons. There's not just 3 weapons. What happens is you bring Rodin an item, and he will make you a weapon. Some of them go on your hands and your feet. If you want to equip them on your hands and your feet, you have to purchase an alt version of it, which you do from here. Not all of them do that. Some of them are only equipable by the hands and the feet. We've got accessories. These are the things that also use your magic gauge. Like, one of them is, like, summons a bunch of people to fight for you. One of them is use magic, and if you take damage, it just activates witch time. This one is a parry, if you push the left stick in the direction as you get hit, which is, I mean, helpful, but very hard to do. And there's a bunch of stuff. Basically, they use the magic gauge. We've got items, but the game doesn't want you to use those. You can buy HP and MP. We got techniques. We're going to buy the air dodge immediately. And we do want all of this, but we're not going to spend any more money right now, because we're about to unlock a weapon. And Rodin's Treasures is all costumes that you can't actually unlock until you've beaten the game at least once. So, there is a special item you can get from Rodin if you give him... I can't remember if it's 1 million or 10 million halos. You don't need to have all that on you at once, it's just a counter the game keeps, and then you unlock a special thing, which is a special boss fight. But you don't get to do that in one playthrough, you have to grind it out. And then there's hidden stuff in the world, like pieces of the heart, you find enough, gives you the HP item. Find enough of the magic equivalent, it gives you a magic boost. And those are hidden around. Found another diary. We'll go through it. Again, we're not going to sit and read it. You know, oh, lore. Fascinating. It's, you know, you wouldn't really know from, like, looking at just the game, but it seems like someone sat down and spent a very long time, like, planning out, like, world building this, and then you never really see that much of it in the game. This is a very weird city, though. Those angels, they get up to some weird things. There's a hidden item in here. I'm trying to remember where exactly it is. It's over here. So the game kind of wants you to look around, though it's not exactly hard to find stuff, usually. It's a very weird city. You know, these people, they're quite prepared to just stab themselves to turn into angels, which is a bit weird. It reminds me a lot of, like, the city from Devil May Cry 4. A lot of weird, like, cultish stuff going on. Allegedly a new angel. It functions exactly the same as the Affinity, but it's slightly stronger. It doesn't really seem worth the effort of having the whole cutscene, because it really is just a bigger Affinity. But, you know, it's allegedly different. They sort of make, as you might imagine, the Affinities make up the bulk of what you see. Got some angel weapons laying around here. We'll use them. I'm not a fan, but we'll use them anyway, see what they do. I actually don't know what most of them actually do, so it's gonna be a new experience for me actually using them. So the Affinities are what we sort of see the most of, them being the basic enemies. But there's one enemy. I'm terrible. Oh, the game is gonna be so disappointed in me. There is one enemy we get introduced to later that the game becomes very fond of, and then that enemy becomes like the bulk that we see for the rest of the game, and I'm not a big fan of it. Not because I think it's badly designed, I think I'm terrible at fighting them, and then the game becomes very fond of them, and I'm just not a big fan of them. Admittedly, they shouldn't cause me as much trouble as they do. I'm just generally terrible at fighting them, but we don't run into them for a little while, several stages from now. This stage is still quite short, because it's still kind of a tutorial stage, and it's got one last thing to show us, and that's how you unlock the weapons. The first weapon you unlock is not particularly exciting. Oh yeah, they do that if you shoot at them. They don't like you if you shoot at them, these big guys. Oh, fuck. We're not using these weapons. Oh, goodness. Well, that's not very exciting, is it? I'm very disappointed in that weapon. It sort of implies the Beloved is a boss. It's not, I mean, it kinda is. This is basically just an instance of a regular enemy later showing up much earlier. You fight a lot of these over the entire game as well. Alright, so the weapon did just half kill this thing. There's a weapon in this game I'm not very fond of, because it kills things slightly too quickly, which sounds like first world problems, but it's hard to build up a combo if you kill something too quickly. We have summons. These are how we kill, like, bosses. We have many summons. I'm bad at button mashing, by the way. We have many summons. This is the first one. This large dog. It's actually a dragon. It's not a dog. It's kind of hard to tell, but it is a dragon. We see in the second game. And now, this is how we unlock the items. Or the weapons, rather. And we'll take the big axe from us. I have to imagine this is very slow. Quite slow, yes. I really don't use these things. So now, we take this back to Rodin, and Rodin will give us a weapon. The first one is, oh yeah, there's these. Don't worry about that. It's a collectible thing. There's a bunch of, like, red crows hanging around that you're meant to collect. So, the first weapon we unlock is not very exciting. It's basically the same as the weapon we already have equipped, but it's sawn-off shotguns instead of pistols. So it does more damage, but it's exactly the same, fundamentally, as the weapon we already have equipped. If you shoot your gun, it just does that, regardless of what weapon you have equipped. It's the hold the button that's different.
Gold LP. Got your hands on something awfully rare, haven't you? That thing is the perfect bait to coax out some of hell's uglies. One note hits their ears, and a damn who's who of Inferno comes pouring out of the inner circles. Then I can use them to breathe life into what I make best. Weapons of mass destruction. Tell you what, you give me that record, and I'll order up something so fiendish, angels will cry at the sight of it. I'll just have to pop down to the tropics for a bit, so take a load off. All done. He's a little rude, but he makes up for it with charm. Be nice to him, okay?
And now we've got the Onyx Roses. So it's a very Devil May Cry setup where basically Rodin goes and shoves them in a weapon for us. And we can buy the alt version if we had enough money. So, that's how we unlock weapons. Most of them are pretty easy to find. There's like one that's hard to get. Well, there's like two that are hard to get, and the rest you kind of just like stumble into as you're going through the game. So we'll equip that now. Shotguns containing the souls of fairies known to collect the onyx roses that bloom only in Inferno. Each shell fired from the guns contains the curse of the fairies' trapped souls. And what does it say for these? Crafted by the famed demon smith Rodin, these 4 guns have been crowned with the names Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme. Gee, I wonder what the theme there is. Pushing Bayonetta's magic to its limits, these guns' rate of fire and stopping power are incredible. They are the weakest guns in the game. But whatever. Alright, that's not technically true. You can unlock the pistols you used right at the start of the game. You know, just the handguns. They are not particularly exciting. And then you get some weapons that are like laser cannons. You have to beat the game, like, on hard to unlock those. But, you know, they're there. They're there. Just noticed some of the world blink into existence right there. The port's actually really good, it's just I have it installed on an external hard drive, so it takes a while to load some things. The port's actually really good, surprisingly enough. Because, you know, I mean, well, I guess not surprisingly enough, it's just usually the PC ports have a bad reputation. And I guess this one's really obvious. I guess it's meant to be like there's hidden stuff in the world. And we're actually almost at the end of this stage. This stage is really short, but it was basically still a tutorial stage where it showed us all the extra stuff.
What are you doing? Let's go.
See, we got some time travel going on. Well, it's not time travel, it's like a flashback. So we do get to see that some of the Umbra Witches were thoroughly useless, because we're gonna, if we come over here, we get to see what happens to these two. They seem to lack any survival instincts. Oh goodness, I'm absolutely terrible. I'll blame the fact something fell off the table right behind me and distracted me. Just gets eaten. Doesn't even try to dodge, just sort of lets it happen. Any other one meets a very similar fate. So I guess it's no wonder the humans managed to beat them, but I mean, dude, come on, you know, put a bit of effort into it. So this is like an actual boss that shows up, like, we're getting an early glimpse of it right now. But if something seems like it's a boss, it's usually best to assume it isn't actually a boss. This game, it has some, it tends to inflate regular enemies quite regularly. Fuck it, just leaving. Spooky. I was sort of expecting, given how much damage that took, I was expecting to get a much lower rank. And we'll read this as well. Well, I mean, you know, read. This seems to be about crafting, I guess. Yep, there's concoction right there. No, we're not interested in any of that. There's the things we're finding. I don't know what color they are, so I can't actually tell you which one is which, but, you know, that's what we'll use if we make items. It's quite long. It's actually not that long, it's just very condensed on the screen, so it seems a lot longer. Oh, and then it wants you to actually craft stuff. Oh, please, what do you take me for? So, now we've got one more enemy to fight. This also kind of seems like a boss fight, but you might notice he looks very similar to the enemy we killed in the last area, with a different face. It's a bit of a recurring thing, you know. Oh yeah, that's right, we got the shotguns now, so they do slightly more damage. So, this guy, like, this part of the fight is very peculiar, because he can't actually hurt you. He just sort of slams you against the wall, and it, like, staggers you, if you're just standing on the bridge. But it doesn't do any damage to you. So you just sort of take this time to build up your combo as much as possible. You can't kill him during this period, even if you bottom it out. He just sort of, like, moves on to the next part. It is possible to actually just, like, completely empty his HP bar in that section. And there's quick time events, by the way. Well, that was weird. I'm sure we won't see that guy again. Oh fuck, he's like teleported ahead of us. He's lost most of his arm where you can see all the fleshy bits underneath. They don't seem very nice, these angels. They don't exactly keep with your traditional, like, concept of an angel. That being said, there's like some texts out there that sort of imply angels weren't that nice to look at, because there's a few things that sort of imply they had to spend a lot of time calming people down that they appeared in front of. Which, I mean, could just be like, fuck, this is a messenger of God. But, could also just be like, oh, fucking angels are fucking weird looking, man. No. We do have other summons. We have much more interesting ones than this one, but this is the one we see the most commonly. I don't know what its name is. All the summons have names, but I don't know what any of them are actually called. And that's that stage. Not very much happened, because it was still kind of like introducing stuff. There's like 2 hidden ones that we missed out on. One of them was like when you go back to Rodin's shop after picking the LP up, you can go back down the hallway, and there's more angels there. I don't actually know where the other one is offhand. And we've got no interest in doing this, we're just gonna skip right through it. You can skip the opening to Angel Attack, because the way you skip cutscenes is you pause it, and then there's an option to skip it. If you hold back and push the bumpers, the right bumper, skips the cutscene without doing that, so you get to skip Angel Attack. Not many people know that, because it doesn't actually tell you. So, now, I don't think we did not get enough money to buy the Onyx Rose alt, so I've come in here for nothing, because we don't want to buy anything else yet.
Take care of my babies, will you? Some people may have a thing for the 45s, but to me, these are the real works of art.
He's got a few lines. There's one line where he says he's not strapping a chainsaw to Bayonetta's arms, and then in Bayonetta 2, there's a weapon that's a pair of chainsaw arms and chainsaw legs. One of them implies he wants to go to the moon, because he's like, I want to go to space. Which ties in to the item that costs very many halos, but we'll see that later. Well, it doesn't cost many halos, you don't have to actually buy it, but... So stuff actually happens here. Again, there's more plot now.
Fancy bumping into you here. Out to find some answers about your past, are we?
You've quite the familiar face, and using the same powers. But you'll have to forgive me. Do we know each other?
Same powers? Don't make me laugh. Your little dip in that lake has left you a bit rusty.
I've been high and dry for 20 years now. The only rust on me is from the lack of any real challenge. Perhaps you're up for the task.
You've already disappointed me. This is a moment I've long desired. But you've forgotten your destiny and wasted the past 20 years.
You're right. I do seem to be having trouble remembering things of late. Would you be so kind as to take it from the top?
2 overseers, the eyes of the world. They are the power behind everything.
Jeanne, as heir to the clan, the time has come for you to prove your right to fight under the Umbran name. You may select opponents of your choice.
Then allow me to face the outcast.
Non! Il est name Kiadagat. The child is of impure blood. Challenging her would be a violation of our tenets of faith.
It would not be the first time we faced each other.
Kiard?
Will you face me in this hallowed arena?
Well, if I must. But I pray you've got a little something for me in return. You know, I'm very fond of stuffed animals.
Yeah! Yeah!
And we now fight Jeanne. We fight her several times during this game, and we are being introduced to the fact that if the full moon is out, you can walk on walls and ceilings, technically. We fight Jeanne a few times during this game. This is the least interesting one, as you might imagine, where she doesn't really do very much. Witch Time doesn't work on all bosses, as you might have noticed. She can also do Wicked Weaves. If you dodge those, Witch Time activates, but just the regular attacks don't work. Doesn't matter. I was trying to tell us also if you push left stick in, you fall off the wall. And that's Jeanne. It's not very exciting the first time around. It gets better.
Jeanne.